small and addressed by Vodafone Idea itself and our customers. For example, like CI and other value customers we have.
All set?
Yes, all set. I think people are just coming in. We just had a brief test run also with the Nihon people. Yeah.
Hello, this is Tomoe. I've just joined. Good afternoon. Good morning.
Yeah, good afternoon, Tomoe-san. Thank you very much for joining. My name is Rajesh. I am from the Confederation of Indian Industry, CII, New Delhi. Tomoe-san, we also have Ms. Mona Khandar, Minister Economic from the Embassy of India, New Tokyo.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Thank you.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
We have 5 more minutes, so I think we will wait for others to join. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, of course. Yeah, sure.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Good to see you again, Mukunda-san.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon.
It has been 3 years. We met.
I look forward to welcoming you, Tomoe-san, back in India and having lunch with you once more or dinner.
Thank you.
So, good morning, good afternoon, Mr. Mukunda. So that saves me from the introductions.
No, we know each other because of our past.
Thank you. Yeah, just waiting for Mr. Joshi to join. Yeah, just sent a reminder.
Okay. So Rajesh, it's like this. I have such a senior from Tokyo, so I really have nothing to say. So he should speak more, and we should listen to him.
Yeah, it's more on a conversational mode,
Yes,
so I am sure.
So
Yeah.
Tomoe-san has so much of experience that it is always pleasure to listen to him.
Obviously.
No, not so much. But
Obviously. I think Mr. Joshi has also joined. Yeah.
Hello and konnichiwa.
Tomoe-san, I think you are on mute.
Sorry, good morning, everybody.
Good morning. So I think we are just set and people are still joining, but since we are just on time, maybe in another 1 minute, we can start, if that is okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So good to have you and good to have all of you on the same platform. I'll just, we'll just kick off and then hand over to Mr. Joshi, and he will take the proceedings forward. Mr. Joshi, we also have Ms. Mona Kandar, again from the Embassy of India, Tomoe-san, and of course, Mr. Mukundan, already all of you.
Excellent. It's a pleasure. I've, of course, virtually been interacting, especially with Ms. Kandar and Mr. Mukundan. And it's very nice to virtually meet Tomoe-san. So, hajime mashite.
Nice to meet you. Oh.
I must thank this for the session because I'm meeting Tomoe-san after 3 years.
Yeah, that's right.
We are great partners with them, so it is always good to learn from a master like him. I said this will be another lesson for me to sit and learn.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. You know, the same timing of 3 years later, 3 years ago, we met with Kundan
Right.
in Mumbai.
Mumbai, yeah, in Taj, we had lunch together.
Yeah, so with your permission, I think we can start. And so first of all, a very warm welcome to all of you while people have just joined, are still joining, but I think we will keep the session on. Very good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining for this first session on the CEO Speak series that is being organized on the occasion of the 70 years of India-Japan diplomatic relations that we are celebrating this year. We have a very eminent stalwart of panelists here, but I would like to first invite Mr. Bharat Joshi, who is co-chair of the CII Japan Committee and also the director of the Associated Container Terminals Limited, to warmly welcome him and also take the proceedings forward. Hand over to Mr. Joshi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rajesh. And a very warm welcome indeed to our very esteemed panelists and equally esteemed members of the audience, whom I'm aware are joining from not only our two countries, from India and Japan, but also from several other countries. So very warm welcome. And for some reason, I cannot see the full attendee list yet. Oh, I can. Okay, so now I see a few friends here. So my very dear friends and very active members, especially in the food and agri space, Mr. Nadir Godrej, his prodigious son Burgess, and some others I know will be joining. So please forgive me if I don't call all of you by name. My very warm welcome, especially to Ms. Mona Kandar, who took time out from a busy schedule. She, as you might be aware, is Minister Economic and Commerce at the Embassy of India in Tokyo. Yosuke Tomoe-san is president of Nihon no Yaku Company Limited. And as it turns out, his business partner, Mr. Arum Kundan, MD and CEO of Tata Chemicals Limited. It is my very great honor, as Rajesh mentioned, this is the very first edition of India-Japan CEO Speak series on bilateral economic cooperation. And I think it's no coincidence that we're focusing on leveraging complementarities to maximize farm productivity. In these present times, as you're all aware, there's a huge amount of geopolitical risk and therefore geoeconomic risk all around the world. And even before this, we saw the trajectory of the world moving in a direction where matters like food security became very important. And along with India, Japan, and other partner countries like Australia had started formalizing discussions on resilient supply chains initiatives, or RSCI. So this perhaps is not a one-off, but let's consider this a very topical and carefully chosen topic. This CEO series is being organized by CII with the support of Embassy of India in Tokyo as part of the 70th anniversary of India and Japan's diplomatic relations, with an aim to share successful collaboration within the two countries in specific sectors and potential for future cooperation. So there will be more of these. We are privileged to have the presence of Ms. Khandar, who's been playing a very important role in our bilateral ties. Tomoe-san and Mukundan-san represent the leading manufacturing companies from India and Japan, respectively, in the chemicals, agrochemicals, and crop protection sectors. I thank you both for being part of this program. Our two nations enjoy a special strategic and global partnership and have come together on many global forums for collaborative efforts on global challenges. And this discussion is just one of those many challenges which has great potential for greater cooperation. In a shifting post-COVID world, we feel it's important for friendly nations to come together even more strongly to manage and, as a byproduct, also benefit from these shifts. Today, Japan and India represent one of the strongest and oldest partnerships with very definite directions coming from political leaderships. There are various areas where private sectors of both sides should come together, and this, of course, would be guided in some way by the governments. Our countries have been forging a transformative collaboration which has extended and expanded the scope of bilateral relations very significantly. India's demographic dividend and Japan's capital and technology together can realize the true potential of not only the bilateral but the regional Indo-Pacific partnership for a prosperous future. We believe Japanese companies will find in India a vibrant and rapidly growing market, a facilitative investment climate, and multiple sectors for investment. They would also benefit from a competitive, high quality, and wide spectrum of products that can be sourced from India. For CII, the relationship with Japan has always been both special and unique. We deeply value the guidance and support of the Japanese government across many dimensions of our interaction with Japanese industry and institutions. Under the India-Japan Business Leaders Forum, which I'm part of, our recommendations and inputs have contributed to building a better bilateral trade and investment climate. CII has also been actively involved in strategic dialogues with Japan, including India-Japan-US strategic dialogue and Track 2 dialogues. On the industry dimension, the CII quality movement has emerged as an exemplar of economic partnership with a nation. Inspired by Japanese business practices, CII pioneered a strong quality movement in the industry of India. With the support of our very esteemed partners, JETRO, GCC, II, Kedanren, Osaka Chambers, and many others, CII maintains regular programs for building closer networks. I do hope this session, though virtual, would contribute towards strengthening the engagement between business communities from our two countries. May I now request Ms. Mona Khandar, Minister Economic and Commerce, Embassy of India in Japan, to deliver her address. I would like to specially thank her in helping us put together this session. Ma'am, with your support and guidance, we'll go a further longer way. So Ms. Khandar, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Joshi, for those very kind words and very useful remarks, and setting the tone for first of its kind fireside chat CEO Speaks. So a very warm welcome, namaste and konnichiwa to eminent CEOs, Mr. R. Mukundan, Mr. Yusuke Tomoe, and of course, you, Mr. Bharat Joshi. And to eminent participants joining us from India and Japan, I'm delighted to offer my opening remarks for the first CEO Speak in Fireside Chat monthly series for bilateral economic relations to commemorate 75 years of India's independence, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, and 70 years of India-Japan diplomatic relations. Establishment of diplomatic relations on 28th of April 1952 is a new chapter in the long history of India-Japan bilateral relations. The shared vision of both the prime ministers spelled out India-Japan spatial, strategic, and global partnership during 2018 summit. The expanding bilateral economic cooperation spanning across the sectors is the cornerstone of our bilateral relations. Japan is a trusted and natural partner in India's development journey. The largest bilateral official development assistance from Japan has contributed significantly to the socio-economic development of India. It ranges from state-of-the-art public transportation infrastructure like MAHSR, high-speed railway, to civic amenities, health infrastructure, higher education institutes like IIT Hyderabad and Gandhinagar, climate action, and agriculture. It is also a vehicle for capacity building and technology transfer. Japanese FDI among top 5 in India is one of the instruments for changing the face of Indian industries. Japanese FPI among top 10 in India supports deepening of India's financial markets. 1,455 Japanese companies today present in India help further expansion of industrial and service ecosystem in 13 Japanese industrial townships and elsewhere in India. Globally reputed Indian startup space is attracting increasing number of Japanese VCs and incubators. Japan-India Manufacturing Institute, Japanese endowed courses, and specialized skilled workers framework further assist and boost India's skill development. Bilateral economic frameworks like India-Japan Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, India-Japan Industrial Competitiveness Partnership, Macroeconomic Dialogue, Agriculture and Food Processing Dialogue, and several other dialogues spanning across the sectors, and recently set up multilateral frameworks like Supply Chain Resilience Initiative among India, Japan, and Australia, and Quad among India, Japan, Australia, and the United States to deal with the emerging challenges of economic security due to COVID-19 global pandemic and emerging geopolitical and geo-economic challenges world over, are meant to promote not only prosperity and progress, but also free and open Indo-Pacific region vision. Indian economy has gone beyond pre-pandemic level and regained the status of fastest growing large economy. Nonetheless, successive COVID-19 pandemic waves have temporarily slowed down our expanding bilateral partnership to some extent. These occasions are the most opportune time to make up and give further impetus to our bilateral partnership. India and Japan both have walked extra miles to boost their respective economies from the adverse impact of COVID-19 pandemic and partnered to fight and prevent the pandemic further. We also share the vision of green and digital economy in the post-COVID world. India has given a big boost to infrastructure logistics through Gati Shakti and manufacturing in 14 sunrise sectors, including food processing and drone technologies. The importance of agriculture and allied activities cannot be overemphasized though. Farm community of India is getting increasingly integrated in national, regional, and global value chain. India aspires to be a part of global and regional value chain and not just as a big market. It plays a crucial role in generating rural demand and thereby supporting the overall domestic demand for achieving higher GDP growth. We have a robust bilateral cooperation in agri and allied sectors. There are 2 projects for introducing Japanese agricultural practice in Uttar Pradesh and Gujarat. We have jointly set up Food Business Council. There is a lot of scope for further trade, investment, and cooperation in horticulture, organic farming, promoting smart agriculture through application of modern technologies like drone, building agri inputs and marketing infrastructure, increasing efficiency, productivity, and income of farm sector. At the same time, promoting public health through promoting organic farm practices. So today's fireside chat aims to pick up overall vision and strategy for agri and allied sectors from the perspective of CEOs and industries. I look forward to engaging deliberations. Dhanyavad, arigato gozaimasu.
Thank you very much indeed, ma'am, for your very informative address and sharing your perspectives about economic cooperation between India and Japan. Before I go towards my premise for the fireside chat, may I, indulge in somewhat the futile task of trying to introduce 2 extremely well-known speakers. So futile because both their esteemed organizations and the speakers themselves are so well known to many of us here. But still, as is convention, let me first begin with Nihon no Yaku Company Limited, which was founded almost a century ago in 1928, a leading Japanese company in the manufacturing of agrochemicals and pharmaceuticals. In India, its subsidiary Nichino India Private Limited was established way back in 1969, initially in Hyderabad. And since then, they have undertaken a major expansion in Andhra Pradesh in 1997. And one of my pet peeves is that we don't have enough R&D, but also Nichino in India has a dedicated R&D facility commissioned in the year 2000. And they're actually developing in-house synthesis capabilities apart from optimization of process technologies. Very significantly, although many foreign companies at times hesitate towards going to less familiar geographies, Nichino India Private Limited has also started a formulation facility in Jammu. That's right, in the UT of Jammu Kashmir. And they did this not recently, but in 2004. And a second manufacturing unit also in, I think, 2010 in Jammu. So my congratulations on that very far-sighted approach. And I hope more Japanese companies follow you there. We also have the pleasure of welcoming Mr. Arum Kundan, who is MD and CEO of Tata Chemicals Limited. He's an alumnus of IIT, TAS, or Tata Administrative Services, FMS Delhi, and Harvard Business School. He's been with the Tata Group for 26 years. Tata Chemicals has operations, of course, in India, but also in Europe, North America, and Africa. And its farm essentials portfolio of the company has carved a niche in India as a crop nutrients provider. So now I'll just, after this brief introduction, I would like to very broadly just attempt to just outline the broad premise for today's conversation. Leveraging complementarities for maximizing farm productivity, as is the title, is extremely critical in the context of India, which is a major producer of agricultural products, and Japan, which conversely imports over 50% of its own food requirements. So I will not state the obvious, of how we could come together. Also, while India is among the largest producers, it still is among the, embarrassingly, among the smaller exporters of value of food or farm produce, of value addition, and also yields and productivity remain impaired and far too low for comfort. Agriculture, like every other field, is now becoming more data intensive, more technology intensive. Both India and Japan are well poised to develop a more technologically intensive agriculture domestically and potentially expand production networks for high value food products regionally and globally. Innovation in agriculture and further integration of agriculture with other parts of economy could further enable the sectors, both Japanese and Indian, to benefit from said technologies and skills. And much of these could be imported from other sectors. So innovations we see in other sectors, of course, can be brought into to agri and farm. Let me start with a point I alluded to earlier. The coronavirus crisis has also presented India with an unprecedented longer horizon opportunity to expand its base as a manufacturer or a producer and play a larger role in a revamped global chains or value chains architecture. Also, the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine has deeply impacted the world trade and global supply chains. And this might remain for some time in the immediate term. How are companies strategizing to de-risk and diversify investment and global value chains and thereby minimizing overdependence on any one particular country or region? So whoever would like to go first, please.
Anyway, first of all, thank you very much for your kind introduction, and also, I appreciate very much for the kind invitation to this fireside chat of the CEOs, and I am very proud of one of the participants in this event, and also I would like to congratulate for the 70 years anniversary of the diplomatic relations and the collaboration between India and Japan. I think since the last 7 years, there has been a lot of progress of the collaboration between the two nations, and I think this relation could be further extended and strengthened into the future, I believe. Anyway, regarding the question of the coronavirus effect and also impact of the current incidents, and everyone in the globe very much suffered with the coronavirus pandemic. But fortunately, agrochemical is a kind of essential industries to secure the food supply. Therefore, as a whole industries, we are not so affected as a, how should I say, the value of the agrochemicals. But due to the COVID, maybe there are many, problem has been occurred, especially in India. Nichino India also was, suffered to, stop the production for the time being, and but now due to the effort of our people, everything is now coming back. But anyway, due to this coronavirus pandemic, there has been a disruption of the supply chain in a global basis. And also the current, the violence from the Russia also caused the, further push this kind of, disruption of the supply chain, and also causing the increase of the price of the raw materials. So this is very, crucial matters for us as well. And securing the supply chain is very crucial, especially for the manufacturer like us. In the past, most of the Japanese manufacturers were looking at China for raw material production base, just pursuing the low cost production. But under the current trend, which environmental issues are one of the hot topics, China has now become a rather difficult countries because its national policy is unpredictable, as you know, and a very abrupt restriction is easily in place, I dare to say. Also, we are making a point. So therefore, now we are making a point of the securing the two sources of the key our technical grade of product. So India is definitely a potential country and a stable supply. India is definitely a potential country to consider the security in our technical grade supply and also raw material supply. But at the same time, quality and the stable supply will be the important factors as well as the cost. In the latest instance of Russia, violence, economic sanctions are in place. And for us, the palladium availability is now very crucial because many our products are manufactured with the palladium, and catalyst. Therefore, the risk is still, increasing. And as I stated before, securing the second source is indispensable for us. So anyway, India is rather stable country as economy and also as a politics. Therefore, I think the importance of the Indian source or manufacturing site is becoming much more important, I believe.
Thank you so much, Tomoe-san. You brought out very articulately how the focus has shifted perhaps only from cost for some organizations to not only cost, but also quality and stability of supply.
Yes.
I think that was one of the big takeaways for me. Thank you. Mr. Mukundan, your views on the matter.
Yeah, I think firstly, let me also join to compliment both India and Japan for their 70 years of relationship. It's really wonderful. Firstly, I want to talk, before I get down to chemicals and agrochemicals, I just want to say that one of the key binding factors between India and Japan as far as agriculture is concerned is that we are both a very largely, India is, a paddy growing country. So rice is very important crop for us. So is very important in Japan. And it's the same crop which runs right across Southeast Asia. And there are similar solutions. So I think one of the things I would certainly say why Japan and India are natural partners in agriculture and agrochemicals is because we tend to have the same vegetable and vegetarian and rice eating and they need the same solutions in terms of improving productivity. So that's a starting point. If you really look at the supply chain issues which have come in the recent years, I would say that our vulnerability in India, while we do make we have a lot of formulation units in India for final agrochemicals, our vulnerability remains, I think, dependence on intermediates from China. So really, I think that's the biggest issue which we have, which while the technology of the final formulation can come from Japan, I think for intermediates, India's dependence on China is still very high. In fact, yesterday only the Indian Chemical Council, there was a discussion, and I think we have to do exactly what has been highlighted by Tomoe-san, that we need to look at domestic manufacturing in India to sort of reduce the dependence. And that would mean exactly what you mentioned, Bharat, that we have to go beyond just cost into quality and also resilience in supply chain. We've had the periods during COVID where some of our formulations could not be made because of the level of import, and availability was simply not there. The third element I would say is that in these sort of matters, we should probably look at an axis of Japan, India, along with the secured import of the key raw materials coming in maybe from Middle East, to make sure it is also cost competitive. is something which we need to work towards. But clearly for India, I think a deeper partnership with Japan is what can give us the solution for this current, let's say, weakness which we have of dependence on China for intermediates, which has become a vulnerability for us.
May I press you just for a minute longer to expand on your idea of this, triangular cooperation, India, Japan, and the Middle East? So the Middle East would not only provide raw material, but be a market for the end farm produce, if I'm hearing you right. But could you expand upon how an example of this framework would work out?
So I really think if you look at Japanese companies, they have technology and they also have access to market. Japanese companies have reach which is beyond Indian companies today. I think we must look to Japan to be both technology and the providing us a link to the market, because they already have established distribution networks. They have established reach to farm networks around the world. I think we must use the existing network of theirs. We have to then say there's a low cost input access which can come from Middle East, which can then be transformed into useful chemicals within India, because that is where our cost competitiveness is concerned. So it's going to be a three-way partnership in terms of, and also India presents a big market on its own. So while we say that the partnership with Japan also expands the market beyond India into South America and parts of Africa, really India itself presents a big market, and access from Japan in terms of the technology and the access to that market, coupled with our relationship and close proximity to Middle East, is something which could be seen as a strength. It certainly reduces the risk of, many times these materials have to go through the Straits of Malacca, and this also go very close to the South China Sea. Here it comes straight from Middle East to us and then gets processed and can go all over the world. I think it's a good relationship to sort of build upon.
Excellent. And, it's quite a coincidence that now FTAs are very much, a focus area, at least for India. And just the other day, we signed the FTA, or the CICA, I think it's called, with the Emirates. And we have a long-standing CIPA, or another FTA, with Japan. However, the utilization rate of the India-Japan CIPA leaves much to be desired. Now, the irony is that while we would like the CIPA to be further expanded and further liberalized, that in itself depends on the rate of utilization of the current, CIPA framework. How can India and Japan work on improving the utilization rate of this comprehensive economic partnership agreement as part of the review and expansion of bilateral trade and investment? And if we could perhaps look at chemicals and agrochemical sector, or even more broadly. And if you wish, Mr. Mukundan, you could also, again, since we're having a fireside chat virtually, in the ideal world, how would this, Venn diagram of 2 or 3, CIPAs work? Because India has now one with the Middle East. India has one with Japan. Japan, I'm sure, has one with also the Middle East. Japan's, of course, been very progressive on FTAs. So how could we leverage that, and also the existing, already signed agreement? So both of you, in whichever order you'd like to answer. Thanks.
So my son, you first.
No, please, because the relation with Japan and the Middle East is, I'd like to say, not so in depth, and we are rather, now thinking to explore the Middle East market through our Indian subsidiary in the future. So at this moment, I have no, how should I say, important comment at this moment. So anyway, Mukunda-san, please go first.
So I
think what Tomi-san is saying is that there's an even more important reason for India and Japan to work together, whether it's with the Middle East or others.
Okay.
I think the issue has been that I think we have not been ambitious in our approach to using these agreements which are coming into place. As you mentioned already, there's been a long-standing agreement with Japan, and now we have signed the first one with Middle East, and the government is going to sign a lot more. But these multiple agreements will certainly open up the opportunities the way we said, not only bilateral, but a trilateral and multilateral change of markets and bringing expertise and skills together. And I think it's right up to us to be more, I would say, ambitious in that direction. The key things which are very important, I think, from our perspective, as far as being welcoming of Japanese partners in India, is their high stress, the importance they give to safety, health and environment and quality. I think we have to up our game within the chemical industry to take the standards right up to where I think the Japanese partners will be more comfortable to say that this is a reliable place, because reliability, the key element of reliability in chemical industry is our safety and environment and health standards. I think that is something which Indian industry is getting, it's upping its game. Second is, of course, openness to new technology and openness to adopting new ways of making and investing the right way in the latest technology, which again, Japan has given us access. If you look at many of our urea fertilizer companies, many of them have been designed with the Japanese technology coming here, and they are world class today. I think our operations are world class. Same is the situation with agrochemicals. But I think as we adopt these standards, as the faith in Indian operations and our operating practices increases, and that will improve the reliability of Indian operation, and that will lead to greater cooperation between us and Japan. So I think that we should set ambition. We should set the initial processes and within an enterprise very clearly. And once we perform, out of performance is when confidence comes. We've done that very well, as you know, in auto sector, where with our partnership with Suzuki was come and almost built an entire auto industry here, has given confidence to India, Japan, to build on that in other sectors. And chemical sector is one such sector where I think opportunities are immense. The main reason is India is not just a recipient of technology and absorber of technology, but also is a big market and can be a place from where lower cost and more efficient production can serve the entire world.
Thank you so much. I couldn't agree more. It's funny you mentioned auto, because Maruti Suzuki are, amongst our most esteemed clients. And you spoke about branding and how the branding of a country also matters. So Suzuki now is exporting India-made Balinos and other cars to Japan even. So earlier it was only for subcontinent and Africa, but so this is how I think we just move and progress up the value chain. And I think this is where Japan has been a very strong ally and partner of India's. May I also take a moment to acknowledge the presence of Professor Chawla from the MEA. I'm so delighted he could join us despite his very busy schedule. Also, I see some raised hands from the audience. May I request if there's some way for, and I'm not sure if Rajesh can tell us how, if these questions can be, just typed into the chat box, or is there some such option? Because for us to otherwise manage this might be a little disruptive. Now, speaking of disruptive, may I come to the next question? Sorry, were you saying something?
No, I was saying those who want to ask any questions can put it on chat box and I can pass it on to you. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Rajesh. Now, speaking of disruption, as if we haven't spoken enough about disruptive events, Japan very significantly has recently, well, not so recently, but a couple of years ago, instituted what is equivalent to a ministry, an agency on digital transformation, or DX. That's how impressive the foresight and the vision is of looking at DX from a national scale and national perspective. Of course, the COVID crisis catalyzed some of this, but innovation and new manufacturing are really the buzzwords, and more than buzzwords, are becoming truly and very increasingly important. Smart factories, which feature the combination of IoT, the digital twin system, AI, and many other emerging technologies are very much now here and now. They're not a few years ago always as they were. So in some ways, I'm trying to figure out how this new manufacturing or Industry 4.0 or digital transformation might also manifest in the agri sector and farming. Also, I must make a quick mention here of exactly, I think, a month ago, the finance minister's budget speech, in which she mentioned a lot of innovation and ambitions on agri-tech, including drones. And of course, from the government's perspective, it very directly can help in doubling or raising substantially our farmers' incomes. But also for all of us involved within or on the peripheries of the sector, it has some very exciting possibilities. So how could India and Japan collaborate in chemicals and agri-farming more broadly and take advantage of both the strengths of Japan, but also the latent strength India has in tech? So again, whoever wants to go first.
Digitalization of the area, is in manufacturing digitization, like, to combat the conventional factory to the smart factories. We are now working to introduce many robotics and AI or IoT to, reduce the number of workers and to have a mostly automated factories. And just we have, begun, the combating our factories in Japan, and maybe coming 2 to 3 years later, we will have, like a real smart factory. And we are planning to, transfer those technology into our Indian factory, different to the, how should I say, what timing would be, suitable for a company. Anyway, we are planning to transfer our technology into our subsidiary company in Ichino, India, as quickly as possible. And also concerning digitalization of the agriculture, we have just developed the AI health diagnosis app in the Japanese market. This app can identify what the disease or insect or weeds as by just taking a photo with the smartphone. This enables growers to correctly diagnose the pest or weeds, and could follow the recommendation of the selected effective chemicals from this AI engine. And in a former time, they observed some misunderstanding about the pest and the mischoice of the products. Finally, end up with the not high productivity of crops. But if this app is used, grower can correctly capture what pest is in their field and what products are to be used with very high accuracy. And this can contribute to minimizing the crop loss in the field. So we are now preparing the Indian version of this app, including the Hindi and the English languages. And its prototype will be launched in this coming season. And not only, introduce this kind of app, but we are now thinking to incorporate many other functions like, the drone technology or growth diagnosis of crops or water management systems or suggesting the best harvest timing, so on. Anyway, like that way, IoT can be the game changer, and old-fashioned farming style will be, outmoded quickly, I believe. And we are also, thinking to, therefore, the India, Japan has such technology, and also, in the IT area, India is also leading country. So I think we could collaborate to, upgrade this kind of system, and in a, short moment. I think this is also one of the, big opportunity of the collaboration between Japan and India's, technologies.
truly impressive, Tomoe-san, especially for a very established large company to be so nimble and innovative and behaving in the character of almost a startup. So using a startup phrase, I hope this new initiative becomes a unicorn soon for yourselves. Mr. Mukundan, your thoughts, please.
Bharat, there was a break in the transmission. Could you repeat the question again?
Oh, sorry. So I was speaking about how there is this emergence of digital agriculture almost. And in our finance budget, there were references to agri-tech and drones in agriculture. And now we have this IoT and AI and so on. So how this smart factories or new manufacturing might manifest in the farm or agri sector more broadly. So Tomoe-san's reply was, should I paraphrase, or were you able to hear his answer?
I heard that. So I think I fully agree with whatever Tomoe-san has said. And I think the only thing I would add to that is, I think one is about identifying at the field level, also at the aggregate level, the data which is available can actually be very helpful for all the participants to look at what kind of cropping patterns exist. If that cropping pattern happens in a season, what kind of a product demand is likely to be. So you can almost sort of fine tune your production plan, your let's say delivery plan, dispatch plan to the extent of how the cropping patterns are. The third level of integration which will happen, Bharat, is integrating all this to marketplace. End of the day, it is very important for the farmer to monetize his output. So even before he starts to plant the field, if there's also an engine which is attached, which is what we are also saying, and the government is very keen on to have this e-NAM and e-mandis linked, so that a farmer can almost estimate what is the pricing he's going to get for his crop, and then work back to say which is the most profitable crop for him, and then go through layers of production and productivity. So this is an entire integrated approach where the manufacturer, the farmer, and the marketplace all get linked through data which is available. It won't be accurate all the time. It will be 80-90% accurate, but it is better than guesswork today, which is going on. Today, we almost don't have a tool to do it. So to that extent, getting at least 80% accuracy or range is much better than before. And the other element which I would say, which is also going to come into play, is that if there are repeat conditions of certain things which are happening again and again in any farm or any crop, it can also lead to switching in the solutions which we can offer to them. Today, and if it's happening at a larger scale, so certain diseases which before they erupt on the entire, let's say, state, they are confined to few district and few blocks. If they can be isolated in the few district and few blocks through satellite imagery and drone imagery, I think we can take advanced action so that we can protect rest of the crops in other parts of the state. So I think it is going to help at the micro level, but also for a country and for a state to respond in a better way to find solutions to make sure the farm produces at the highest level. Now, to this, I think the next layer is what I think the finance minister also is thinking, was explaining. How do we then sort of link the crop insurance schemes to this? How do you link the credit available to the farmer to this? So really, it is going to bring the entire cycle of saying market, farmer, factory, and then link everything through a financial and insurance system so that everything is interlinked through data. I think that's the big picture. We are, as you said, in a startup phase, an early phase in many of these areas. Several technologies are at play. There is a satellite imaging, there is a drone which is available for delivering the solutions. All this is going to change the way the cropping is done and the farming is done.
Thank you so much. I think you brought out how important policy is in all of this, and the policy environment now seems to be very enabling and forward-looking. So that's, of course, driving a part of the change. And just as Tomoe-san talked about taking these, sort of macro pictures, sort of micro pictures through satellite phones, through smartphones, you spoke about satellite imagery. So really zoomed out. So just zooming in once again, precision agriculture is sometimes spoken about as one of the means to improve harvest quality and accuracy. and in turn then improving productivity and yield. How could India and Japan cooperate on precision agriculture?
Yes, as Mukundan mentioned, that there is no meaning that if a farmer cannot earn the money, therefore it is very important to how to secure the economical status of the farmers using all of these technologies, and this is very important. And anyway, but everything cannot be done at the one moment. Therefore, this kind of technology should be, developed from time to time. Anyway, therefore, our approach is, to start with this smartphone app, having the AI health diagnosis and incorporating the field management or weather management or those kind of things. Then therefore in several areas we may be able to collaborate with the Indian startup company or existing companies in these areas. Anyhow, we would like to, how should I say, try to collaborate with the any kind of Indian farm if it is helpful for our, how should I say, objectives.
So Bharat, this precision agriculture is a name given to by several people, and everybody calls it differently. Tomai-san called it app-based solution, right? That's part of the precision agriculture. It's not as if it's something coming out. Precision agriculture is fundamentally linking data, linking the market information, linking the farm level information through a data layer so that farmers can take decisions which are more precise. That is all it is. It is nothing more. So when you get crop prices, when you get crop profitability, he knows this is the crop I want to go for. Then if the data is available, when he should plant the seed, when he should, put the nutrition, what kind of pest he should protect the crop against. And if that information and support is available to him through information, the next level is automation. In precision agriculture, you can say automatically the pipe which is taking the water is also giving nutrition. Automatically a drone is flying to put the pesticide on top. We can keep adding layers, as Tomai-san said. I think the first step actually is enabling data in the hands of farmer. I will just explain how we have also done this in many ways. When you give a smartphone, it takes a picture. Many times farmers want a human voice at the other side, Indian farmers at least. So we have a call facility wherein he can send this picture. The work which app is doing in Tomai-san, our people in the office do the matching, and then they give him a voice response. So it depends, over a period of time, the farmers will get more confident that this app will give the right solution, a non-human will give the right solution. It's a bit like even in our office, when we changed our HR system for a bot to give solution, initial view was, I want to go to HR administrator to know my problem. Then people got more and more confident going to a bot. Today, how many of us go to a bank branch? We don't go to a bank branch because everything is getting done on. So at all the steps which Tomai-san explained is actually the layered approach to implementing precision farming.
Yep. Yes.
Thank you so much for that. I think you both jointly really, educated even someone like me on what these terms mean, because we hear so much about it. And I think it's truly fascinating to just today get a little bit of a almost like a movie preview on what's going on. There's smartphones in the mix. There are drones around the corner. You mentioned, in addition to water, even fertilizers could be carried through irrigation systems. You also brought out very well how not only data around commodity prices or whatever, which now seems to be, I think, kind of the low end of it, but you mentioned about insurance and credit and other forms of finance, which could also be delivered. So absolutely phenomenal things going on. I'm afraid we only have about 5 minutes to go. So before I deliver the vote of thanks, may I request you both to perhaps just, is there any, concluding thoughts you have or any strong messages you have for either the broader bilateral or about any specific sectors you would like to, or areas you want to talk about? Thank you.
So I'll leave the last word to Tomai-san. I will go first. So what I want to say is that Japan has been a true partner to India, trusted partner, a long-term partner. The way to win the trust of Japanese to work in India is to perform, to deliver highest level of quality, to work to the highest standards possible. And usually, I think instead of wanting quicker results with Japanese partners, we should build trust over a period of time. We should be more patient. We've seen our relationship with Japanese partners are a very, very long term. They last for multi-decades. I mean, it just carries on. In fact, I remember my audit committee telling me that with one of our Japanese distributor, where is the distribution agreement? And I had to check, there is no distribution agreement. It's been going on a word of mouth for 30 years. So I called up my Japanese partner to say, can we sign an agreement? They said, why have we not done a good job for you? We said, no, we have, but now the audit committee is asking for agreement. So we signed an agreement, but that's the way it is. So I think we need to be more patient, and we must actually use our relationship with Japan to up our game and up our standard. I have found them to be great teachers and great masters, and learning from them actually improves us in front of the entire world. So I would just say that this is a great relationship to nurture, especially in the current world where we are facing many pressures, and Japan and India are natural partners for Asia to shine. Tomai-san, over to you. Your comment.
Yeah, thank you very much. And as Kundan mentioned, the relationship, the long-lasting relationship should be based on the trust between the two nations, and also between the partners. And in this sense, I'd have to say that the way of thinking of the Indian and Japanese is somehow similar, because both countries has is believing the multiple God, not the, how should I say, based on the single God cultures. Therefore, very flexible, and also very, how should I say, how should I say, very, how should I say, respect the trust of each other. Therefore, I think the both nations' relationship will further increase, I guess. And also looking back the actual, industry relations, I think if we would seek the increase of the bilateral trade from India to Japan, or India to Japan to India, I think we would like to ask the both government to harmonize the regulation of the several industries. For example, in agrochemical sector or pharmaceutical sector, still there are some difference of the regulation in both nations. So if the regulation would be harmonized, maybe the bilateral trade will be increased further. Maybe this is what we cannot do as a private sector. So anyhow, maybe like Chamber of Commerce of India, or the Embassy of India, maybe the better to enhance the, how should I say, the discussion of the both countries, so that both countries' industry will be, further increased or developed, I think.
Thank you so much, Tamoy-san. You have excellent sense of timing, because on this call, not only do we have eminences from Government of India, both from New Delhi and Tokyo, but also eminences of Indian industry. So I'm sure your comments will go a long way. Also, as you mentioned, a good approach might be through chambers, both Kedandran and CII, if your both Japanese and Indian entities might wish to share a short note on what can be done and what the impact could be on bilateral trade and investment. That would go a long way. Mr. Mukundan, thank you so much for a very insightful and very illuminating address. And I couldn't agree more about the long-term approach of and the pleasures of working with Japanese partners. We have 2 Japanese partnerships ourselves, and very, very fortunate to have excellent partners. A couple of points that have come in the Q&A box. One is a suggestion more than a question, that JETRO and other agencies should have official tie-ups with APIDA, MP, EDA, and others. And also of how the MSME, the small company sector, could have a chance to collaborate with their Japanese counterparts. So I think excellent points. And we'll need another session for each of these. So maybe Rajesh is taking ideas for the next topic. But I go away not satisfied from this conversation because of how short it was and because it was just so interesting. But I go away very satisfied in how much I've learned today. So my big thanks to you both. My big thanks to all the organizing and supporting organizations, especially the Embassy of India in Tokyo. And I very much look forward to seeing our very august audience on the next CEO Speak edition. So with that, from me, it's a big thanks. Arigato gozaimashita, and let's hope to meet again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.